Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Surprise, it's just me, myself, and I. Give thanks to the Most High for allowing us to move through this strong. This is 6th day, and we are going into our Sabbath, our day of rest. I also give thanks to Chief Yuya for allowing us to use this space. Good evening and greetings, Chief Yuya, Master Menelik, Abba Ra. No, that's Ra. Good evening, Ra. How are you? So I'm Sister Deidre, and it's just me today, surprise. So we are going to get started and get right into it. And so today's Shema is titled, as you've seen, Poverty Steals Dignity, right? So I'm going to pose the question now, so that when we get to it, you can, have your answers all in, because, I've heard that there's a delay and some people don't think there's a delay, but that's okay. So what is dignity? So we're going to jump right in with the first question. And while you ponder that, I'm going to read the preface. This book is not to be read only once. Read the words of this book of knowledge and wisdom out loud. Discuss the convictions of this work with your Anu brothers and sisters. Share this information with your people. This publication should be read daily. Every line in this book can be taken out of context and studied on the strength of its own potential. The truth is to be deliberated. The truth is to be deliberated. So I'm going to jump right into the verse. Poverty steals dignity. We want to live lives that are dignified and do what we can to share that privilege with others. Poverty steals the dignity of people at the deep gravities of their minds. We want freedom for all. Paucity deprives people of freedom and independence. Greetings, 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 everyone. Greetings, Akuya Bisa. Greetings, Sovereigneeds. Greetings, greetings. So as your answers populate, I'm going to, I'll reread the first sentence because, we always go line by line. We want to live lives that are dignified and do what we can to share that privilege with others. So the first part of that is living a life that is dignified. So I'm going to go to the chat before I go into, what dignity is and reviewing that. And while we're working, we're going to make this interactive, someone look up the word for dignity in Hebrew. And then we'll have some fun with that. So, shalom, shalom. So Akuya Bisa says dignity is having a sense of self-worth for yourself. Good, good. And don't be in there Googling. Just put it in the chat. What is dignity? Don't be sitting there with your phone looking what it is. Akuya Bisa, pretty good. Pretty good. It's not wrong. Not wrong. Unless somebody says dignity is cheeseburgers, I don't think anybody's going to give a wrong answer. Shalom, Yolanda Addison. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the space. I mean, maybe for some people in an alternate universe, maybe cheeseburgers could be dignity, but not for this reading tonight. So I'm gonna wait for you to bring them in, but I'll read off a little bit of what I have. So dignity is a state or quality of worth, of being worthy or honor or respect. Similar to what Akuya Bisa said, having a sense of self-worth for yourself. Self-respect is in there as well, right? It's your own sense of self-respect. And what is respect? Your self-respect specifically. You're seeing your own source, right? So what else does dignity deal with? Worth, honor, your sense of pride. It could also be like rank or hear things like, dignitaries or someone was dignified, and, it's in how you behave or carry yourself. And some of that comes from your own sense of worth or what others have deemed you, or your own sense of self-respect, etc., etc. So, give thanks, Master Menelik. Kabod. Kabod. I think kabod. I think I pronounced it correctly. Kabod. So, and so as the word kabod is in the chat, so as we're going through, in addition to putting in your definitions of dignity, also for our Anu members who have been taking our Hebrew courses and have been studying your Hebrew, start breaking down those letters. It's Kaf, Bet, Vav, and Dalet. Kaf, Bet, Vav, Dalet. So start putting in some of those meanings of those otiot, the letters, the Hebrew letters. Greetings, Dr. Gertrude. So like respect. So I'm sorry, dignity. So we'll say it again. Dealing with worth or honor, your respect, your sense of pride, self-respect, that's seeing your own source, rank, or position. And like when you see your own source, especially when we're saying we're, children of Yah, we're people of Yah, is that what you're seeing, right? Or is that what you see in another person? It should be, right? If we're Aelites. So, we're also like having a sense of dignity in one another. But when you're robbed of that, something else happens, right? And we'll get into that in the next sentence. So then, what does it mean to share privilege with others? So I'll read a scripture, 2 Corinthians 8:9. For ye know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sakes he became poor, that ye through his poverty might be rich. So when we're talking about sharing with our Aelites, in Anu, we had a conversation about like communing and community, and that means like we're on the same level. We're kind of, no one is up here, no one's down here. We're always vacillating at the same level, and if there's an increase, we're all going to increase, right, at the same level. And so what this is showing is that Yeshua was, he was rich and wealthy, and we're not talking about money, right? Rich and wealthy and other things when it comes to wisdom and righteousness. Like that's where we should be headed, and that's where we should be aspiring to. And so when he, was moving around and bringing people into the faith, he met them at their level, so to speak. So Paul, this is basically Corinthians, is Paul is telling the people at Corinth that Yeshua became like you in order to show you how to do this, how to live life. He met you on your level, and showed you at least how to get here. So that's that communing, right? That community. How do you get here? Oh no, the audio is breaking up. Is it the potato chip monster again? I'm going to try something. And I'm back. Hopefully that is better. And I'll probably have to do that a few more times as the audio is a little janky. Got janky audio tonight. That's okay. Sorry, so I'm gonna go to this chat. Does it read monster? Yeah. Okay. So hopefully that's back. Let me know in the chat. Still bouncing. Oh boy. All right. Let me know if that helped a little bit. Oh, but I'm audible. All right. So willfully the potato chip monster will just kind of sit in the background a little bit. So I'm gonna go to the chat. Yeah, there is some static. Master Menelec says dignity is moving in a manner that is consistent with what you are. Really good. Ross says, I think dignity comes from the culture you live. I think it attaches to self, to dignity, because you base your worth on what the culture has presented to you. Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Maybe I'm just moving a little bit slow today. Okay, yeah, it's gonna be static. It's still a little Dorito-y. Yeah. Let's see if that helps. Probably not, but let's see. It's the same, but you can be heard. Okay, good. Shalom, Arlene Adams. Peace, peace, peace. Okay. So yeah, so people are answering. So for those of you who just came in, so the first question is, what is dignity? And so we kind of went over some of that. So don't look on Google and use the Googles to find your answer. Just drop it in the chat. What is it? Even if it's just a word or a sentence, like what is dignity? If you haven't, if you're just if you're just tuning in and you didn't hear or see what was shared earlier, or if you're not like perusing through the chat. So just share what dignity is. And also, there's a bonus assignment. The word for dignity in Hebrew is kavod. So we are putting in, for those of you who have been studying your Hebrew, and even if you are new to Anu, but maybe you do study Hebrew, you know, we know that each of the Hebrew letters, they have a meaning. So start putting those meanings in the chat, and let's see if we can pull together via the meanings of each letter, what dignity, you know, the fullness of what dignity means in Hebrew. All right, so I'm going to keep moving forward, even with the Dorito chip monster in the background. So not only that, so when we're talking about sharing privilege with others, it's kind of like, it's like when we receive right knowledge and instruction and wisdom, you know, when we talk about knowledge, wisdom, understanding, there's that information, and then there's the doing, and then you can basically go and teach it to someone else, and that's the understanding. Chief has said, you know, for people say, well, I read it, you know, when we're talking about the books, when we're talking about On the Way, 14 Keys, oh, I read it, you know, or I skimmed through it. When you can go and teach the material to someone else, then you understand it, right? So when we can share privilege with others, it's because we've completed the formula. We've gone through the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding, and now we can share that with our Aelites, right? And the Aelites are people who are going to be following our culture, and those who have those celestial embers that want to connect, and they have that flame, and that they know, and they're coming into their understanding that they are also people of Yah, and so they're gonna heed the call, right? And when we look at Proverbs 13 and 18, poverty and shame shall be to him that refuseth instruction, but he that regardeth reproof shall be honored. So those people who hear the instruction and say, hey, this is how I get out of that. When Yeshua was you know, giving instruction and teaching and leading people, those who heeded the call, they moved from that poverty mindset that we've been talking about all for the last several strongs on this topic of poverty. You move from that poverty mindset, and then you go into something that's much more focused on abundance, right? Not talking about riches, but we're talking about abundance. I mean, we may say the word rich, but we're not talking about money. I'll say it like that. We're not talking about money. And it doesn't mean that money can't be part of the blessings. You know, we do know that it's a vehicle to get you, you know, things that you need. It's a vehicle to get commodities or you know, materials and such. But it is not the end all be all. You know, abundance is also family. Wealth is also family. And health is also wealth, right? I'm going to go to the chat. Yolanda Addison says, I think depending on how much self-respect a person has within themselves, it'll reflect the amount of dignity that they have. Yeah, you know, because you'll exhibit what's on the internal always comes out on the external, right? Dignity is quiet respect. Interesting. Elaborate, Imanaya, why does it have to be quiet respect? But it's an interesting answer. MGC Randy says, moving with self-respect. There's a lot of self-respect here. And I did mention self-respect. So like, what is respect? It's going back to the source. So it means you see your source. Re is to go back, spect is to see. You're seeing your source. You're going back. Says, I think a culture creates a lifestyle. I think dignity would be moving in a proud or worthy way according to that lifestyle. Okay. Give thanks. I think that was your comeback. Thank you. YG Gutter says, when I hear dignity, the word respect and honor comes to mind. Absolutely. So yeah, so then we talked about sharing, because the fullness of that first part of the passage is we want to live lives that are dignified, right? So like thinking about all the answers that you gave, we want to live life that is, you know, where we have a measure of self-respect. We want respect, self-respect, and also respect from our Aelites, right? Or respect from our communities, respect from our elders, respect from people who are junior to us. We want to live a life that is filled with honor. We want to live a life where we have, a sense of pride. So those are like some of all the answers, right? So that is pride, and then do what we can to share that privilege, right? So and sharing that privilege, we're sharing the word, because that's what we're supposed to do, sharing the word and saying, like, this is the life that we live, this is our culture, because this is the way of Yah. And so if you have that celestial ember and you see that there's a connection, then this is the place where you should be. Nice. And my thought went to high school, and our motto was quiet dignity. I thought of self-respect and how we carried ourselves in that quiet, dignified manner. Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I guess because I'm thinking, like, does dignity have to be quiet? Maybe it's something, I don't necessarily think it's something you have to boast about, but does it have to be quiet? Because I'm also thinking, like, Western kind of education, and like, where's the school system, right? And who's going to that school? And is it like a subliminal message, like, keep quiet, y'all? So I think that's where my mind is going when I'm hearing that. But give thanks for that answer. Arlene Adams says dignity is living honorably, right? So that's an honor. We had a nice conversation about honor in the womb build a few strongs ago. So honor is one of them, and honesty is a required quality, right? So there's a lot of pieces in the Honor Way when it talks about required qualities that are related to one another. So we're talking about dignified and poverty stealing dignity. So in a sense, it's attacking the things that we should have as Anu people. These are part of our required qualities. So what happens when they're adulterated because of poverty or a poverty mindset, And so that moves us into the next sentence. Poverty steals the dignity of people at the deep gravities of their mind. I really like this sentence. I really do. So first we have like deep gravities, right? So obviously, like when I thought of deep gravities, it was like, I thought of like a chasm. Let's see, I'm probably getting messages. Okay. I'm thinking like a chasm when I heard deep gravities. And then I was like, okay, well, what is gravity? So for those of you who kind of maybe like astronomy or something, like, what's gravity? And I'll like wait for you I'll go to the chat, and then I'll come back with it. So poverty steals the dignity of people at the deep gravities of their minds. So Naya says, as we wait for y'all's answers, Naya says, and that was the name of the school, Western High School. Interesting. Interesting. Master Menelik says the kaf, humility comes to mind with the bending and the openness. Okay, so then maybe that can connect to Imanaya's quiet dignity, because you're not. It doesn't mean that you're boastful, but I guess I heard like quiet dignity is like, keep quiet, y'all. And there's a word I want to say, but we won't say that because we live. We won't say the word. Yeah. Chief says, answer. Dignity is knowing your place and its conferred privilege and authority. No position that can be honored and acknowledged. No dignity. Dignity is most related to purpose. And so we're going to take that as the answer. Having or knowing your place and its conferred privilege and authority. No position that can be honored and acknowledged. No dignity. Dignity is most related to purpose. So if you're moving in your purpose, then that comes through. It's kind of like, I don't know if this is on like a Sabbat call, like an internal Sabbat call, or Chief has said, he probably has said this live, but I think he did. You got to be drenched in it, right? But maybe he was talking about something else. Yeah, I think he was talking about something else. But you still have to be drenched in this too. You got to be drenched in your purpose, because it'll be written all over you. It'll be seen all over you. People can smell it, feel it. It'll feel almost tangible, right? So yeah, if you're moving in your purpose, because then it can be recognized, it can be acknowledged, and then that's where the dignity comes from. Shalom, Hamza L. He says dignity is when one maintains respectful character that is honorable amongst their community. Right. No position that can be honored and acknowledged, no dignity. If you have it, you know your place is conferred. You know it. You know your place and what comes along with it. Imakuya says, perhaps quiet dignity can be related to how you carry yourself without needing to proclaim who you are. Give thanks. Yes. Sovereignty says dignity is a collective self-respect. Collective meaning composed and connects with a person who is honorable. So it goes back to, no position that can be honored and acknowledged, no dignity. Because it's who is it being honored? Where's the honor coming from? Who's the honor coming from? Who's the acknowledgement coming from? If it's not coming from anyone, then who you? So it's like, it has to come from your community. It has to come from somewhere. Elders, juniors, children's, mates. If the dignity isn't there, then, you ain't got it. Answer 2, gravity is the heavy weight that the dignity of your character assigns you to carry. Okay, thanks. I got something different, but, because I was going somewhere else with it, but give thanks. Master Menelik says, looking at the Hebrew word, the bending of the kaf makes me think of humility. Bet brings the family and the internal space. Vav binds together, and Dalet relates to doorways and paths, reminds me of culture. So having a humility and being in a humble space with family, or maybe the family in being a humble space with, I'm not going to even try that. We're going to just leave it how you had it. We're not even going to paraphrase. Looking at the Hebrew word, bending of the kaf makes me think of humility. Bet brings the family and internal space. Vav binds together, and Dalet, right, because it's the peg. Vav is the peg. Specifically, they would be the pegs, kind of like the pegs that hold down the tent. And the tent could be the house, right? And the doorways and paths reminds me of culture. This is true. Already. This is true. I don't know which part, but this is true. So poverty steals the dignity of people at the deep gravities of their minds. So when I looked up gravities, so it was more like the source, right? Because gravity is plural, so it's gravity. The force of attraction that moves bodies toward the center, right? And specifically a celestial body, so like Earth, right? Or the moon, your planets, like it pulls you there, right? So we're robbed of how do we find that celestial ember? Because when I was thinking like, celestial body, I thought of celestial ember. So if we're robbed of that, it's kind of like a flame going out. So how do you find your way in the dark? How do those who are like you find you, or how do you find them? And it's not to say that it can't happen, but you're robbed of it. And if that's the case, like, where does it live, right? Who took it? Who's responsible? Who's the thief? I mean, I think we know who the thief is. But then, did we allow them to take it? Did we just leave the door open, or was it snatched in the middle of the night? I think most of us, especially living in the West, I know for me, it's like, I left the door wide open. Left it wide open. Because, and we can't say, oh, we didn't know, especially if you grew up in a space where you did have some sort of instruction from a scriptural book like the Quran or the Bible. You knew. But like, IG was so tempting, or, to go and do this, those Western rites of passage is so tempting. Like, oh, but this is what we're supposed to do because you're living in, death culture. So it's like, no, I'm going to go do this. Right. So like, I can't really say that I was robbed. Right. Some of it is because, sometimes you don't know. Right. But then most times you do. So can we even say we were robbed? Is it more like, no, we left the door open and then we were surprised when we came back? Master Menelik says, like the way you move, reflecting the quality of your internal space, family, and culture. Queen says, I left the door open. Yeah, I was thinking I left the door open. Dr. Gertrude says, being lifted up in character and positive accepting of grace. Okay, so I think this is the answer to the gravity, I think. So force of attraction that moves bodies toward the center of a celestial body. So immediately, like I said, I thought celestial embers, and I was like, well, if it's stolen, then who took it? You know? But I think we know who took it. We know who took it. And so then we go to like the deep gravities of their minds. And especially when we're linking like that celestial body. I think a few years ago, we did a presentation on aspects of self. And Imoquia talked about the mind, right? And what do we know about the mind? And this comes from Chief Yuya's book, Mind, Heart, Words. The mind is universal. The mind is thought. And thought was the first thing, that was here in Bereshit. It was thought first, right? Before there was anything physical, there's thought. So then if it's coming for like that deep place, where that beginning is, what do we do? What happens? What happens to us if it comes for that, right? We can even I was gonna link it so I don't know if everybody was able to see like the thumbnail. The man is asking for like kindness, please, right? And that's like something that's natural, right? Especially for Anu. We're charged with being kind always. But then if you're in a space where you're requesting that people be kind to you because you don't have, because we know what happens when when people are in a space and they don't have, they're kind of kicked away or looked down upon or treated, a second class citizen, worse than a second class citizen. And then you're at a space where you have to remind people to be kind. And so even in that, like my self-respect, I'm not acknowledged, right? So it goes back to what Chief said, like, if you don't have a place of honor and there's no acknowledgement, there's no dignity. So it literally robs you. That poverty robs you of what you could have. It robs you of, what your place could be. And if it's at the deep gravities of your mind, it robs you of what the source, right? It robs you of what you're supposed to be. It attacks you at your very source. Master Minimalist says dignity is often abandoned for the sake of secular approval. The less dignity you have, the more fun you are. Girls Gone Wild. I'm just gonna say it. Girls Gone Wild. And I think there were like many spin-offs after that. It definitely, the more fun you have, the more fun you are, the more you, what does it say? The less dignity you have, the more fun you are. Yes, I would still say Girls Gone Wild. Chief US says, unkind people always demand kindness and are miraculously hypersensitive to what they perceive as absence of it. It is a mind game. Why'd you go to says deep? I don't know if it's deep. They came through at the same time. So give thanks. I think it was maybe what Master Menelik said. I don't know if it was something I said, but give thanks. Yes, unkind people always demand kindness and miraculously hypersensitive. Yeah, you know what? As I've had like those moments myself, like where I've been unkind to someone or inconsiderate. And then what happens is it's like, if that person's like, all right, well, I'm not going to deal with it anymore. It's like, but why? Why? What did I do? Instead of acknowledging, because the ego will keep you from, or my ego, like kept me from acknowledging like what it is that I did or why I was wrong in the situation, right? So in that moment, like, am I stealing that person's dignity because I'm not even acknowledging like who and what they are, but I want them to see my source, but I'm not seeing their source. So in that way, it's not always like the unseen, all powerful, like Western oligarchy is stealing. Sometimes it's just the people that we know. And so a lot of changes have to be made in order to get to a place where you you're not the thief in the night, right? So that's where the stealing comes in. So yeah, we may have left the door open with some things, but sometimes we can be the thief. Like Peter, Peter Griffin, like sneaking around in the middle of the night like a cat thief, Masculine Alexa says that annoying feeling when the rude person calls you rude for not allowing them to be rude to you. hmm I've had that. I've had someone do that to me. It was insane. I was like, "Is this like the Twilight Zone?" It's like, "Hey, I'm not gonna, there's a line, right? And so this line kind of lets you know where you are. I don't like that line, so I want to cross it, and you're not letting me cross it, so you're a horrible person." Like, what? What does that mean? Like, what is that even about? No, you have to be respectful of people's lives. You can't just like do that. She says like dignity cannot be stolen. It can be revealed, claimed, and honored, or not. How could one steal your place and purpose? Hmm. So, because I'm thinking poverty steals the dignity. So is it cannot be stolen by a person? So we'll just like put that there and keep it moving. But okay, so I'll read it again. Dignity cannot be stolen. It can be revealed, claimed, and honored or not. How could one steal your place and purpose? Okay. Well, I think what they can do is ignore it. I think they can ignore it, which is it takes us to the rude person. So maybe they're in a space where they're not acknowledging who you are, right? So what you have to do is do that reclaiming or claiming your claiming your dignity. And if that person is not honoring what's in front of them, then hey, right. It is insane rude people will insult you, cuss you out, and be offensive. If you get them back a modicum of what they give you, they faint from the force of a slither of their own reflection. Mind games of toxic people, the best response is avoidance at all costs. Well, that's what had happened. There was a cutoff from that day forward. That was it. Yes, mind games with toxic people. And so I guess and if we learn that hey, you're that toxic person, then there has to be like a change, right? There definitely has to be a change, because at a point no one is going to kind of sit with you if you're moving from a poverty mindset and you want to kind of pull people down to where you are, right? No one should have to stoop to your level and stay there. It's kind of like what Chief has said, and it's in the On the Way. Like if it's the room of astrophysicists, the collective intelligence of the room is going to go down because you in there. You need to step it up. You need to step it up. It was a blessing and it was grace. Because I know I read 2 Corinthians 8 and 9, and we talked about how Yeshua, met them at their level. But that's grace and a blessing, right? So but grace and blessing, that does run out, as we have seen, in scripture. It can run out, and we have been cursed. And if you can't figure out how to get back to where you need to be with righteousness, then that's where you're going to be. That's exactly where you're going to be. Softa Arlene says, that's like saying you made me feel this way or that, giving others power over you. And we know our feelings come from our own thoughts, right? So no one can make you feel a certain way. Chief US says, Yaqub didn't even steal from Esau. He tricked him and offered a deal Esau saw as sweeter. To give up your divinity is to walk away from your post, but it can't be stolen. Okay. So then I guess it's more like you left the door open. So then we're back to you left the door open. Right? Stop to Arlene. Some refuse to be responsible for their lack of emotional reaction and channeling. So you make them over in the image of your emotional projector, more mind games of the toxic. No response is the right response with them. Because then what happens is what talk to me, what I do? And then there's going to be like a constant pulling, right? And they have to be smart enough to know, okay, hey, this is not going to fly. I'm going to have to switch it up and I'm going to have to change it because this person knows who they are, right? They're in a part of something. They know who they are because it's been verified. Maybe I don't know who verified it, but it doesn't matter. They know who they are. So if I'm not going to move and act accordingly, or if you're not going to move and act accordingly to who I am or who they are, and if you're if you're the bad person, the rude person, you're not going to act accordingly to who they are, or if you're the person that is being victimized, if they're not going to act accordingly, then silence must ensue, right? Until there's like a get right, show and prove. That's the wisdom, right? And that's what Proverbs is all about. It's like, the wisdom, like moving in wisdom to live righteously and taking and heeding that, right? Sharing that privilege. For sure, Matthew. Who has time to attempt behavioral modification on a sociopathic narcissist? I don't think anybody. Okay, so I'm going to move on because this is interesting. I'm like caught up with the chat. We want freedom for all. So that was the perfect sentence to follow, to follow what we just talked about. Because if we're talking about poverty steals dignity of people at the deep gravities of their minds, and we know that mind is thought, mind is universal. It's like going for like that source of who you are. And also when we're talking about we want freedom for all, freedom is free the dome, right? So we're talking about free your mind and the rest will follow. Okay, that's it. That's all the singing you get. But free your mind, right? Because liberty and freedom are different. Liberty is physical. Freedom is of the mind. So if we want we want freedom for all, we're talking about freedom of the mind for all, so that we're moving people from that poverty mindset because we're sharing the privilege that we have. So we're trying to take others and bring them out of that mindset and give them freedom or show them what it is, show them what freedom is. And what I thought about, and we kind of talked about this the last time, I think it was even Precious and I, when I think mind, I always think of like faculties now, our mental faculties, thought, emotion, imagination, thought, imagination, intuition, reason or logic, and memory, right? So those are our mental faculties. And so if we're being robbed, it attacks all of those things. And what are things like, our cognitive, our thoughts, facial perception, language, like how many people where, it robs you of how you can even speak to people. Because you're kind of moving in this space where you don't even know how to communicate anymore. Like how many of you have approached people, like, I mean, maybe rightfully so, like who are angry and really can't even fix themselves to communicate with people correctly because that anger sits there, that emotion sits there and it's so deep and so ingrained that they can't figure it out. It kind of goes to like the rude person, that poverty mindset. So this is so deeply ingrained in me. I don't even know how to think. I don't even know how to change my mind to think, to approach a situation or approach this person correctly or with some respect. Yolanda Addison says, right, sounds like the toxic person wants the upper hand to justify their actions. And how many of us have been like that toxic person? Okay. I'm like, oh, my other hand's off camera. Chief US is right. The toxic person uses emotional manipulation to transfer their mind to you. They say, hey, we both have this issue. Toxic people never own to be the sole assist of harmony. I'm lost in that last sentence. Toxic people never own to be the sole assist of harmony. I mean, I guess, why would they? It's queer. Why would they? Harmony is not what they do. They like discord, right? And discord is like the opposite of harmony. I want all the chaos, right? Which women are chaos, right? I want all the chaos. So no, Why would I own up to it? Or why would I want to own something? Why would I want to be a part of something harmonious? That's not what my toxicity is. Oh, soul assassin. Like soul assassin. I had that whole like real off of soul assassin. Soul assassin. Right. They never own to be the soul assassin of harmony. No, same thing. Why would they? Why would they? Because if I'm the toxic person, my superpower is discord. Call me Discordia. That's what. No, they're not going to. No, that's just not what it is. Big D on my chest. Discordia. No, and I like, and I want you to stay. I want you to stay burdened, right? I don't want freedom for you. Here's the rub. Those type of exactly no accountability. And I think Akuya is like me. I've been that toxic person, right? So what happens? What happens if we're that toxic person? We got to go back to the top where we talk about sharing privilege. So if you're in a space where that privilege is being shared with you, we have to listen, right? Proverbs 28:19. He that tilleth his land shall have plenty of bread, but he that followeth after vain persons shall have poverty enough. So if you're gonna listen to the words and then do and commit and go through the actions and show and prove and what needs to be done, then you're gonna see, the I'm not a gardener, so you reap so you sow. So you're gonna sow the fruits of your reaping of all of the seeds that you laid out. But if not, then you're gonna go hungry. And you're gonna be sitting there talking about kindness, please, right? There's not gonna be any space for you. So yeah, you have to listen and heed the message, heed the righteous words that are being given by your ALX. Chief Yuya says, like, here's the rub. He didn't say like, that's what I say. Here's the rub. Those types of people do not change by any logic or experience you can conjure or present to them. Some traits people are even born with and die with. Just leave them be. That reminds me of like generational curses, and poverty is a generational curse. And again, this is not just talking about money, finances. We're talking about just behavior, like that poverty mindset. It'll change you to the point where like your whole brain function is jacked up and you don't even know how to do it. So then it affects like your mental faculty. You don't even know how to speak to people. You don't even know how to behave when you're around people. You can't connect to people. And if you can't connect to people, you have an issue with love. There's no real love in your life. What about like imagination? There's no creativity coming from you. You can't figure out how to do anything. And I've had those moments where I'm like just stuck and it's like, I don't even know. And it's because like, I'm not coming from a place of abundance of where I am. So instead I'm getting stuck on like what I don't have. So it literally, I have watched it like affect everything else. So what happens, I have to literally sit and talk to the Most High. I have to go back, read scripture. I've been instructed to read scripture. And I'm telling you, like, it helps because my mind is now on something that is more fortuitous. It's on something that's more healthy and hearty and not all of the drudges and everything of the world, right? I'm moving beyond the world. So when we move beyond that world space and that earthly space, you're on something that's divine. LOL, I don't know what I did. LOL, I definitely will. I don't know what I did. If you're that toxic person, you are purged and disinfected from an otherwise healthy space. Noxious germs are purged with floods and fire. What we do. What did everybody do when COVID hit? All Lysol and the toilet paper went missing, right? Because we wanted to clean the toxicities and purge and disinfect our spaces. I mean, it didn't work for in some cases because it wasn't a way to purge, or maybe people didn't purge. But like just giving a real world tangible example or something that you can go back. Everybody went to like, what can I use to disinfect surfaces? What does everybody keep in their pocketbooks and purses or whatever? Hand sanitizer, purging the germs. Purge the germs, purge them. Wipe off all the bacteria so we can make it a healthy space because germs are not welcome. You are not welcome here. That's what it is. You're not welcome. So if you're that toxic person, the welcome mat gonna be rolled up. As we talked on Clubhouse some strongs ago, The runway has been demolished. So in order for you to be at this airport, you got to be coming with something better in order for you to be able to land. The only runways that exist are for people who can meet that standard. So that's the only way. And if you can meet that standard, that means you're getting rid of that level of toxicity. Somebody tell me what y'all laughing at. I don't know. Oh, Naya, I think I know what you're laughing at. Okay, so yes, we want freedom for all, like free the dome. So when we're talking about those deep gravities, free your mind. Free your mind. We have to free the dome, because if we don't, you're gonna still be locked down and chained to something that is worldly and earthly, and it's not worth anything. That's where the poverty comes from, because it's not worth anything. It's not anything of worth. It's not anything of honor, right? You want things that are divine and dignified. You want to be divine and dignified. Reclaim. You want to claim and reveal your dignity. Claim and reveal your divinity and your connection to divinity. We're celestial embers. We are all broken off from the source. So if that's where you are, you got to take it and polish it and dust it off so that gold comes through shiny and new. Oh, give thanks. Willfully I am flowing, because again, so like Shema is supposed to be a reading of the Torah. So I want to make sure that we are flowing and also pulling from scripture. There was a bonus question. Only Master Menelik answered it. Kabod. Come on, folks. Where's my sentences? My Hebrew sentences. Come on, Anu. Kabod. Kaf, Bet, Vav, Dalet. Let's get it in. Okay, so moving on. Oh my goodness, we're like at the end. I went kind of fast. Paucity deprives people of freedom and independence. So when I first read that, I actually had to look up paucity, because I wanted to say like scarcity so bad. And it's in the same family, it's a lacking. Paucity is like a lacking of. And so when there's a lacking, we're deprived of freedom. So when we think of paucity, like, so lacking of what? When what is lacking? And I think it's that wisdom and that righteousness that's been given through that knowledge. So if you're, again, so it's like the equation. So if you are not moving with all bits of the equation, you're going to be deprived of freedom, right? Of freeing your mind, because you're not moving with a full deck. I'm just going to take a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that. That's also that poverty mindset. Well, let me just take this right here and I'll just work like this, because I don't want to do the work to move through this full equation. I'm just going to, well, just give me the information and I'll just do what I want with it. I'll just go there instead of following the instructions, going through the steps. That's paucity mindset. If you've been given instructions and directions and you take the shortcut, paucity mindset. Oh, I want the quick and easy, paucity mindset. Master Menelik says that panic buy for sanitation was because people thought they would die. As long as those toxins don't threaten people's immediate physical safety, that sense of urgency is not as present. Yeah, it was a panic. It was a panic. As long as it doesn't, then. But you know what? The toxic person could be sitting in your space, and maybe your sense of urgency, or you don't think that there's an immediate threat, right? Or immediate threat to your physical safety or your spiritual or your mental. And so, yeah, the urgency is not present, but they're there, right? Until they reveal themselves. But they've been sitting there this whole time. And so when they reveal themselves, then they immediately have to like put some Windex on it. Get it out. Yolanda says, no toxicity around or with in Chief Yuya. LOL, no toxicity around or with in Chief Yuya. We will see, Sister Yolanda. Okay. Chief Yuya says, notice no one tried to negotiate with invisible germs. invisible germs and toxins to see if they could find a place for them in their homes and lives. Nope, just burn them. There's an important lesson in that. Nobody. I mean, like the shells are like, what? Like, because people were really Lysol kills SARS. Like, and COVID is a SARS disease. And so it's like, it says it right here in black and white. Let's just get it. We ain't even waiting for it to come to us. We just gonna be ready. We standing at the doorways and the windows with the toilet paper and the Lysol, and the Lysol spray in whatever form it comes in. You couldn't find the spray, you couldn't find the wipes, you couldn't find the squeegee bottle spray. It was all gone because it's known to kill SARS. So it's like everybody was like they had their weapons and their homes was fortified with toilet tissue and Lysol. But again, the point was like, yeah, you're not coming up in here. You're not welcome. You are not. The devil is not welcome here. That's the key. But yeah, so when there's a lack, it deprives you of your freedom and your independence. And independence from what? Right? Do we even go through life, or do we move through this plane and this dispensation and with the sense that we have independence? I think most of us do. How many times do we hear like they hate us for our freedom? Are you free? Or do you move, or do you get up and you're on autopilot every day and you are basing your treasures and the things that you have and the things you do based on what somebody told you? Is that independence? It doesn't sound like it to me. And I'm not like, this is, as I minister to you, I minister to myself. All this time, and they love to say independent women. You're not independent. You're not independent because there's a structure set there for you. And it's that invisible daddy, zaddy, whatever you want to call it, is there. It's a structure and it's there. You're not independent. What you are is cut off from your natural mate. If that's how you want it, especially if you're melanin dominant. What you are is cut off from your natural mate. And the further and the more and more you move away, the less desirable we become. Arlene says, Toda there's some things we're not willing to share space with. Right. Yeah, no dark spaces allowed. Reminds me of having a single eye and having a body full of light. She said possibly chokes out vision because it's literally like blinders, like what they put on racehorses so they don't see anything. They can't have them see, like, so they get spooked or see any of the other horses coming up on the side. I need to have tunnel vision so I can do that. But that tunnel vision, when we're trying to move towards some places, is not necessarily good. We want to have tunnel vision when it comes to moving to the Most High. Nope, I don't see you. I don't see this. This is all I see. But when we're talking about how to get there, and you only have tunnel vision for the West, then you don't see what you're supposed to. And the vision that was given to you by Yah, that's been blocked out because you can only fix your mind, to get what you think you're supposed to have, what somebody told you you're supposed to have, what somebody told you was wealth, what somebody told you was riches. Somebody's given that a definition and you've gone with it. I shouldn't say you, I have gone with it. Paucity is akin to pedophilia. It is a love for small things. That means you end up boycotting your larger visions. How many of us have been like, I'm gonna quit that job, or I'm gonna do this with my life, and it's like, but I just need to get a little bit more cash, or I just need to do this. Somebody used the example with me the other day. I'm gonna go to the gym, or I'm gonna set up a home gym, but I can't do it until I get all these different kinds of weights. I have to have all these little equipments. I need these small little things instead of I'm gonna just go outside and run around the house, or I'm gonna go outside and run around the block, right? No, I need to get all these little small things, but because the larger vision is getting healthy, right? Staying in shape, losing weight. But instead, I'm gonna focus on all these little gadgets and gizmos aplenty, and who's it's or what's it's galore. That was for you, Imanaya. I'm gonna focus on this instead of doing the things that I know would help me accomplish the larger vision that has been given to me. Master Minimalist says freedom to be a habitual and global lifestyle. Yeah, yeah. You're gonna do this. This is what we doing out in the world. And if you do this, like you said earlier, you're gonna be a fun person. You're fun. So now you have people who sometimes they realize the folly of their ways, right? Like, oh, I was on Girls Gone Wild. It wasn't the smartest thing. And there's others who wear it as a badge of honor. And I'm just using it as an example. There's many more. You can put them in the chat. There's many more silly examples that we have. Oh, I did this. Oh, I did spring break, right? Oh, I did, I don't know. Oh, I did the, even if you could do the independent. Oh, I'm a boss, all of that. But I was told to do it. It wasn't the vision that was given to me. It was a vision that was imposed. And I followed it, even though I had glimpses of what the truth should have been. Not even glimpses, even though I had instruction of what the truth should have been and what the path should have been. Well, I'm going to go over here and do this because this looks better, right? And why does it look better? Because it's all shiny. It's all shiny and it makes it seem like, it's the thing to do. So, just be over here and like walk this line and do what we tell you to do. Don't worry about them over there. Chief says, people love their job because they can come in late, calling it flexibility. It's the gilded cage blocking you from seeing the bigger and better. Jobs that do that don't care about your contribution. They don't, because guess what? When you leave, they're just going to find somebody to replace you. Oh, we'll just get the next line stepper. Next! There's an assembly line. They're coming every day. There's an assembly line. And they get younger and younger. So no, you don't matter. You a cog in the wheel of someone else's machine. And once that cog, if you don't go on your own, they just work you till you break. And then they just replace you then. Or they'll just be like, we don't really like this one anymore. We want the new, I don't know what grade it is. We want the new silver shiny new. Whatever you want to name the cog. We want that one. We're going to replace it. Or maybe they're going to replace all the nickel-based parts with gold parts or silver parts or whatever it is, copper. We're going to get that. We don't want everybody to match. You don't match anymore. So bye. And they won't think a thing about it. They won't. They'll put it in all this corporate language and be like, all right, so, you served us well. Have a nice life. NGC Randy says, focusing on what we don't have versus using what has been given to us in faith that Yah will allow more to flow to us. Focusing on what we don't have versus using what has been given to us in faith that Yah will allow more to flow to us. Yeah, so it's the abundance mindset, right? And the vision. We have been given a vision by Yah and a promise. So like if we're turning away from that promise, we're going against what is already there for us. And then that turning away is that focus, it's that paucity, it's that focus, that limited focus on what is actually not there. So you're losing the vision, that divine vision that was given you from jump, from the very beginning. It's the source. So you're literally blind and turned off. You're it's like turning off the pilot light, right? It's like, and you need the pilot light in the gas oven. It's turning off the pilot light. And instead working with one of those electric things, I don't know what they call it, cooking plate. Yeah. Instead of that fire. And we know fire cooked food is better than anything. Instead, you're going to get fake electric food. Electric stove never cook the same way a fire stove does. It's not the same. Master Menelik says, there have been many times when a larger vision wasn't even in the picture. There was more of a focus on keeping the lights on or paying rent. So that is why the paucity, it's that lack of vision. It's not even there. I only see what's in front of me. The heat is off, the water's off, or maybe the heat is off. So like I gotta, maybe I do have electricity. I'm gonna have to heat up the heat is off. So I'm gonna heat up the the water on the stove or whatever so I could take a hot bath. Or like I don't know where the next meal is coming from. And we know we said like what will happen is it will cause you to break laws. If you don't have that vision, then you are going to be lawless. It will push you into lawlessness. I don't know where the next meal is coming from, but they giving ham sandwiches out at the community center on Sundays. No, on Saturdays, right? I'm gonna go down to the community center and get me a ham sandwich. Pork on the Sabbath. It'll have you eating pork on the Sabbath. That's what it'll have you doing. That's just an example. Okay, yes, give thanks. Yeah. So like you said, NGC Randy, like, yeah, it's focusing on what you don't have. I don't have no food. I'm gonna have to go do this. I don't have any lights. I'm gonna have to go do this. You know? And then here's the deep part. How do we get to that space of no food and no lights? What were you doing or what were you not doing? What did we not do to get to that space where we now have to, we're tunnel vision on, I have to get this, and then we lose that larger vision? What were we not doing? So that's the even deeper part. Master Minolik says paucity definitely creeps in. Never mind an education. I need to hit a lick. I need to hit a lick. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. You'll have to help me out. YG says, right, Master Minolik, scarcity mindset. It's a lacking of pork on the Sabbath. Sounds like I'm glad I'm giving it single. I don't know if we want to be singing about pork on the Sabbath. We might get some people protesting that song. And it won't just be Hebrew Israelites. We're going to have people who are, other people. We got other people with the Shirley Temple Curls getting upset about songs talking about pork on the Sabbath. That'd just be wrong. But my point is, it'll have you breaking the law, you know, in many ways, not just like one here, little one there, because everything's connected. They're all connected, you know, and you're not, because here's the example. Are you resting when you're going down to the community center with everybody else? You know, they're not your community, because we have a way of saying like community when we don't have community. So you're not communing with those who are moving in the same culture. Then they're giving away pork sandwiches. Then when you're down there, it's like, oh, well, do this activity and you can get blah blah blah. So then you're not even resting. You're not even focusing on the word. You're doing something else, right? So like there's several laws being broken right in that thing because you were focused on, well, I don't have no food. But again, how did you get to that point where there was no food? What didn't you do that you were supposed to do that would have kept you from, I don't have any food, right? We go back to, we're in economics. We go back to the very first thing, like what is the first thing we should do? Education. So was there a crucial piece that you missed when you were supposed to be getting education or being educated on a certain thing that puts you in that place where you now can't get food, or it has affected how you can make a living or earning, right? What did you do? What's the source? Where did it start? What puts you in that place where now paucity is a thing for you? Were you moving on something else that was like, oh, well, this will keep me, I'll be free if I do this, right? This is fun. This is freedom because this is fun. So now maybe it puts you someplace else. And maybe you did it without knowing the fullness of what it was, because why? You didn't follow the equation. You didn't follow the steps. You didn't have all the knowledge about it. You just went and did it. So now you don't even have the true understanding, or you have a different understanding of something because you didn't get the first part, which was the knowledge. That's the education. So we're moving in a space where we didn't educate ourselves on something, right? So like, let's say it's like, I don't want to say stocks because I'm not that versed in stocks. I'm just now like getting understanding of crypto. And it's just what's happening with crypto. It's like giving me anxiety. Every time I get an update, my heart just drops. It's like, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. But in that, I'm learning about it, right? I'm getting education on it so that I can make better moves on it and then show someone else how to do it. But like maybe I just went in and bought crypto, right? Maybe I'm just gonna go buy it. I'm not, because everybody else is doing it, so I'm gonna do it. And now I can say I have stocks because everybody else is doing that, and I'm so free because I have all these things that everybody said I was supposed to do, but I never went and educated myself on it. So now, what kind of understanding or something do I have? I don't really. Now it's gonna be, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, and I did it wrong, and then I'll be looking for somebody to blame that I did it wrong, and then I'm gonna be pork on the Sabbath, right? That's what. Oh my gosh, there's so many laughs. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay, that's just about the pork on the Sabbath song. Okay. Master Manila says hitting a lick refers to being the recipient of a rather substantial payout in a lump sum. Oh, right. So then you go do scratch offs like that. But I don't know if they usually pay off. So instead, pork on the Sabbath, and then I'm going to go to the corner store and get me a bunch of scratch offs. Paucity. How many people do we know? I remember when my grandparents, before they transitioned, like my grandfather, he used to play the lotto, the lotto tickets. It's like, well, I'm gonna do this, and it becomes part of the routine. Like, I'm gonna go get scratch offs. I'm gonna go play the lotto because I'm hoping to hit a lick, right? While I'm scraping by on other things, and I'm not just saying like, oh, my grandparents are scraping by. I'm just saying in general, because we know that there are still people who move around like that is their routine even today. While I'm scraping by, like, I'm gonna add this so that I can increase the probability of something happening, instead of maybe slowing down and seeing like, okay, what part of the equation am I missing? I'm gonna just keep on building on these short little, try to quick fix it quick steps, instead of taking the time to learn about what I'm doing, so that I have to kind of take a step back and do it correctly. He that tilleth his land shall have plenty of bread, but he that followeth after vain persons shall have poverty enough. That's enough said. Or selling illegal substances. Right. But then you do that because you know you can get rich quick, right? But what if you don't even know what the laws are where you decided to sell illicit substances, and it's much stronger than what you thought. Now you clank and rubbing coffee mugs, a tin cup against, but I don't even know where that came from. But like, you're rubbing like a cup against bars because you didn't understand the fullness of what you did. You didn't understand like what the actual consequences were. You didn't have the knowledge. You didn't educate yourself properly. Maybe you could have become a legal pharmacist selling illicit substances with a license. They call them pharmacists. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I'm gonna go back and read this, because this was a really short, but it was packed full of a lot of gems. We want to live lives that are dignified, and do what we can to share that privilege with others. Poverty steals the dignity of people at the deep gravities of their mind. We want freedom for all. Paucity deprives people of freedom and independence. So again, if that paucity is there, all you know is that there's a lacking. I don't have, so I have to get. It robs everything else. It is that ending sentence is like the clincher for everything that came before it. I'm moving from a place of I don't have. I'm moving from a place of lack. So therefore, my movements are only going to get to that place where I think I am not lacking anymore. Vision be damned. I don't even know what that is. I only see this in front of me. I only have to get to this space. Cup in the bar. Metal cup on the bars. I guess you get sentenced to serve 10 years and nothing. Maybe I don't know what. I've never been to jail, so I don't know what they get. Somebody has to share like with it. I don't know. You bang on them. I don't know. But you get the point. So yeah. So we're gonna wrap up. We're talking about poverty. Poverty stealing the dignity. Poverty steals dignity. If we're not moving in a place where that knowledge has been shown to us on how to move out of that poverty space, will always be there. If we're not heeding the fullness of the equation, we're not following the steps, and we're trying to skip steps, we're gonna stay in that paucity mindset. I have been told that recently about myself. Follow the steps. You can't, just skip over and think everything's gonna be right. Follow the steps. Do the wise part. Take the knowledge, listen to all of it so that you can, act accordingly, so you can exhibit that wisdom. And then you can be that understanding. That understanding will come, and then you can show somebody else. And then if I can't show somebody else, how am I even going to share the privilege? Because I'm still stuck on step 2. And then if you're stuck on a step, it doesn't mean like, okay, let's do get rich quick. It doesn't mean let's wait till we hit a lick. No, it means like dig deeper and go through the steps. Arlene says, Luke 16:18 states, be faithful in the small things. Be faithful in the small things. And we're not talking about like those earthly small things, because we just talked about like that focus on little, like Chief, you just made the example of like pedophilia. It can be like, a love of small things. And then we're talking about those earthly things. But like when we're talking about our communing and how we're supposed to move and following the law of Yah, in comparison to what the world will show you, what Yah has is made to look small. So in the Luke 13, be faithful in the small things. That's what it means. We're always gonna be bombarded with like the shinier and the bigger is better. But if you are focused on the vision, which is always by man and the world made to seem small, that's where the gem is. Focus on those small things, not the actual small things, or the small things of the world. Those are the real small things. The wealth and the riches are what Yah has provided you. It's the purpose you came here for, and it's the vision and the promise that was given to you. Don't be fooled. The world will tell you that's small. And if that's the case, focus on that small thing. But know that it's actually the divine thing. And what the world is offering you is panning, because you know what? It passes away. Everything here will disintegrate, and it's nothing. It passes away. Yah is eternal. Master Menelik says, wanting freedom for all also means that responsibility follows. That verse made me think of everyone having their own land and the will/ability to till it for themselves and their family to eat of it. It does mean responsibility. That's why the equation is important, because when you do, you know that it comes with a responsibility. I think Chief said it earlier about dignity. I'm going to go all the way up. Chief said it earlier. If I can find it. I think I found it. He said, I think it was this one. Dignity is knowing your place, and it's conferred privilege and authority. No position that can be honored and acknowledged, no dignity. Dignity is most related to purpose. So I think, yeah, Master Menelik. It comes with a responsibility. It does come with a responsibility. When you do have authority, it comes with a responsibility. MGC Randy says, I'm guilty of skipping steps too. It always results in failure of the goal rather than success. Yeah. You'll get to an end point. It's like, oh, this ain't what I wanted. It's like baking a cake and you didn't sift the flour right. It says sift the flour. So now you walk around with this cake that's like a rock sitting in and it just drops to the bottom of your stomach instead of being something light and fluffy. Remember, we have to be light. Sacrifices. You definitely can relate. Yeah. How many of you have skipped steps? How many of you are still skipping steps? As I minister to you, I minister to myself. Ain't nobody here perfect. Nobody. Freedom for all is 604. Mathematics don't lie. So that 604 comes to 10, 1 to 0 is 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. I think I'm doing the mathematics. And the 1 is knowledge. So it goes right back to that education. I'm gonna read. The first component of our economy is our students. Education is the key to wealth. So if you miss that first part, you're gonna be at that poverty mindset. You're gonna be at that paucity stage. You're gonna be enslaved. There is no freedom. There is, and you're gonna be dependent on someone else, right? We can even think about what's happening now with and we had like a slate, like after party, talk about this on last Wednesday after our study session about the baby formula shortage. There are so many women who are dependent on that, right? Because instead of, moving through the vision of how we feed our children, I'm going to stick to this. And we know that there are some women where it is difficult. We can always also get into the reason like why sometimes it's difficult, what we're eating, how it affects how women can produce their milk. We know that. And so what happens is like, well, now I need this. Now I'm dependent on this formula. So now what's happening to those who are dependent on the formula, right? From man, who are dependent on man's formula. They don't know what to do. I don't know, Hamza, you have a question? What's happening? You have a question? I don't know what that is. Okay. Or maybe it's peace. Are you leaving? I don't know. Or point? I don't know. I'm not good with all emojis. I know I'm an emoji and a GIF queen, but I really not. I don't know all of them. Same here. Matthew Miller says, MGC Randy, half-baked measures won't get you full ideas. No. You got rock cake. Equality, cipher, culture, freedom. Yep. Oh, I did. You know what? I did the numerology. All right, I combined two systems, but it still works. It leads us back to education. Education is key. It is the first step. He pointed to what he said. Gotcha. Give thanks. Okay. So give thanks everyone for chiming in, for joining me for Sabbat. I know for some of you who are like in different areas of the country, it's still very bright where you are, but nonetheless, this is still 6 days for all of us. And we are now moving into our time of rest. So I will that everyone is moving into Sabbat with a right mind, So let's, as we're moving into that rest, let us focus on coming out of that paucity mindset, right? Today is wisdom, God, all being born to born. When we're born twice, physically and spiritually. So let's have that spiritual rebirth and let that spiritual rebirth move you away from a paucity mindset, move you towards freedom and independence. Chief US says, right, Maximilian, I logged into with the channel account when I typed it. So I left it for you all to knowledge. Give thanks, Chief. All right. And that concludes our Shema for today. Join us next strong where Master Menelik will be this is not ones and twos, but be on the virtual scene as we start the new section about entrepreneurialism. So this concludes this section of economics on poverty. So willfully, there has been much to learn. I encourage everyone to go back on all of the Shemas that talked about poverty because there were a lot of different gems. Brothers Aki Lo and Zach had a very good Shema last strong. Sister Maria had an awesome live as well. everything talked about Shema, and she always in the chat sharing gems. So give thanks for that. So I encourage all of you to review those videos on poverty and what it means to have a poverty mindset. Everything is not about physical money. Again, money is a vehicle to get things. Poverty is a lack of the vision. Poverty is a lack of the vision. My battery died, so I don't know if I went off camera or anything. Chief says, man's formula to replace mother's specially formulated milk, that alone is trans behavior, right? Because trans changes things. Trans is to change, right? So what are you doing? You're changing the vision. That's robbing, the vision is what comes naturally, right? And if what comes naturally is now being replaced by something that has been formulated in a lab, what are we doing? What are we doing? And now you're stuck in that because you can only see that. What are you doing? Give thanks, everyone. Peace, peace, peace. Give thanks. 604. Equality, cipher, culture, freedom. And if we use the numerology for 604, it all boils down to one thing: knowledge. Make sure that you keep that equation. Do not skip steps. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Right? It's no bueno to skip steps. That's how you end up poor. Right? That's how you end up with a poverty mindset. That is how you end up moving from a place of paucity. So with that, give thanks. Shabbat shalom. Thank you for joining us for Shema. Catch us next strong. Make sure you tune in this strong in for our Anu Radio with DJ Shmoney, Akoti Shamani, as well as our midday affirmation. It's entitled Reinventing Oneself. So we'll be on Clubhouse and Facebook and YouTube live. So you can catch us on any of those platforms. Also, our Anu blog will be out on this coming first day, which is Sunday, or Yom Rishon. It should be available in the wee hours of the dawning. So make sure you catch it. You can follow us at www.anulifeglobal.org, and that's where we put out all of our information on membership. So if you're interested in being sponsored for membership, you can join there, anulifeglobal.org/join. You can find out about our youth initiative that's coming soon. This summer, we'll be offering classes for $3.99, offering information on where we come from as Yah's people, as Hebrews. And so that'll be really, really interesting, taught by certified educators. So give thanks, everyone, for joining us. Shalom, shalom, shalom. And we will see you in the forward. Peace.